Right, here we go with another one, family. Here we go with another one. Hey, how y'all doing? If you're new, welcome, welcome. This is Earth Goddess TV. On this channel, we talk about basic spirituality and basic astrology and spirituality. Today we're going to talk about basically the planet of Venus. But what I wanted to talk about was basically how each planet has, like, I want to say, a good and a bad side, like a negative and a positive. So today what we're going to get into is lightly touch on Venus and basically the positive side of Venus and the negative side of Venus, and basically a little bit more information regarding Venus in your chart and how to search for and look at the Venus placement within your chart. All right, so as we know, family, the planet of Venus basically represents basically our love planet, which is basically the ruler of Taurus and Libra. So basically, it's all things love, romance, indulgence, desire, our love language, our romantic relationships, feminine power, beauty, nurturing, but also how we emotionally relate or connect to these things as well. So when I think of the planets, because when you think of like the planets, to me it represents basically different parts of our subconscious mind. So basically, within our subconscious mind, of course, we have shadows. So to me, the planets very much represents the shadow sides of ourselves, as well as the good, positive traits within our psyche as well. So the thing about Venus, it can never be no more than 47 degrees away from the sun. So say if you have a sun sign and your sun sign is in Taurus, and say your Venus may be in Taurus as well. Um, if it's not in a Taurus, it can be in other signs. Let's say it's Pisces, Aries, and Gemini, and sometimes Pisces. Now, with this dynamic, like I mentioned before, Venus can't be too far away from the sun ever. So if you do have a Venus in the same sun sign, if you don't, it'll be within one of those signs. If your sun sign is a Taurus, and that would play for so far and so forth, depending on whatever your sign is. This 47, the signs that are within 47 degrees away from that sun sign, that's what sign your Venus would be in. So, in my opinion, all the planets have a light and dark side. Now, I personally have learned to embrace this aspect because I feel like it's easy to look at the positive aspects and traits of each planet and attach yourself to it, but you also have to be real with yourself and realize the dark aspects that come with these planets as well. So I feel like when you get a better understanding of how these things work, you can properly use this light and dark energies to your benefit instead of becoming a victim to these darker energies within us that we all have. You just get better at learning how to control them and heal them. So what I want to talk about is basically how to know if basically you are be considered a light Venus, which is a Venus Lucifer star, or you be considered a evening Venus, which is, I do not want to mess up this name. It is called the Hesperus, meaning basically just a western star, just western. So how you will find out whether you fall on the positive morning star Lucifer end of Venus, or you will fall more on the evening star darker end of Venus. Now, basically, how you would do this, you will of course pull up your birth chart and basically look at wherever your sun is and say, if your Venus is positioned clockwise from your natal sun, then you would be considered a morning star, which is the Venus Lucifer star. If your Venus is positioned counterclockwise from your sun, you're considered an evening star, which is the Hesperus, which means western. Now, your Venus doesn't necessarily have to be conjoined, to your sun for you to use the same rule. Just wherever your sun placement is and wherever Venus is positioned from that sun placement, whether it falls clockwise from your sun or counterclockwise from your sun, that'll be the type of Venus energy that you choose to work with in this lifetime. So also to another side note, if your sun and Venus, let's say, are in the same sign, and basically what you would do in this case is basically check for the degree. So example, if your sun, I'm sorry, if your Venus is in a lesser degree than your sun, then you are a morning star. Like say example of that would be Venus at a 5th degree and your sun would be at a 15 degree. The Venus is at a lesser degree and your sun is at a higher degree, so that means you carry more of that morning Venus Lucifer energy. Now say if your Venus is in a higher degree than your sun, then you're an evening star. An example of that would be say Venus in the 15th degree and your sun would be in the 5th degree, and you'll be basically working with more of the evening Venus type energy. So what I want to get into is a little bit more of the personality type that would come with, say, if you fall more on the morning star of Venus versus the evening star of Venus. So when you're talking about the morning star of Venus, aka known as Lucifer, meaning prosperous, meaning light bearer, if you fall under this type, you are kind of, you have a light-hearted energy when it comes to love. You're the type to wear your heart on your sleeve. You feel first, think later. You're free-spirited. You're more adventurous when it comes to the matter of love. So when you fall in love, you fall hard, but just as hard as you fall, you can quickly get over these situations and just rush into the next relationship without really fully examining all the details that you may need to kind of save yourself from future heartbreaks. So you kind of have to give yourself time to heal between relationships. Um, if you are a morning Venus star, even though now that I think about it, with the Venus star, they really don't. They should fully examine the relationships before they get in them to avoid certain pitfalls. These people are not really the type to be depressed over heartbreak, because just as quick as they fall in love, they can fall out and they can brush it off and fall in love again. So these, I would tell these people to basically just be more discerning and get all the details, so they won't run into so much opposition with partners that they have to end up eventually leaving because they missed something because of their light-hearted, adventurous energy when it comes to Venus. Now, say if you are a morning Venus star and say your Venus is afflicted, you may not learn these lessons. You may repeat these relationship mistakes without ever learning the lessons. So our Venus morning stars, we have to be very mindful of this. So positive traits I would like to think of for Venus morning people are, you have a proper balance between your desires and needs, because think about it, our Venus is basically not just our love language, but our desires, how our material tastes, how we connect to our possessions and values. So there's proper balance between your desires and needs. There's proper balance within your relationships, but also not just your relationships, but how you view these relationships and your actions towards these relationships as well. So you also have a healthy and balanced mindset towards your financial, material matters, also your love, the language, and how you display that love, not just to your romantic partners, but people that are close to you as well. Now, also positive traits for a Venus morning star could be a balance in your femininity, understanding the importance of nurturing, being caring, the importance of beauty and resting in that femininity. So the next I want to get to is our our Venus evening star. Now, as I mentioned before earlier in the video, if your sun, say wherever your sun is positioned, if your Venus is clockwise from your sun, then you will be considered a Venus evening star, which is also known as Hesperus. I think I messed that name up earlier when I was trying to say it, but the Venus's evening Venus star is also known as the Hesperus, which is basically just means western. So if you fall under the Venus, under the evening Venus type, you may be slow to open up to people. You will reveal your true emotions to those who you feel that are trustworthy and that you feel the most comfortable around. You just like to know what you're getting yourself into, so you're a little bit cautious when it comes to the matters of love or just any relationships that you feel that you may be a little bit vulnerable and have to expose vulnerable parts of yourself too. So you take a while to process your emotions. You may have processed your emotions internally versus sharing these emotions, say, with close friends and family. And it's usually because it takes you a while to literally process them. So, and to understand them. So it takes you a little bit longer than, say, the Venus star to get over heartbreaks because you're still processing the emotions within the last situation that you were in. So, say if you are a Venus evening star and say the Venus is afflicted, you may adapt hard, bitter beliefs about love. You will continue to recycle those experiences as well because of the mindset that you have adapted to the experiences without allowing yourself to properly heal from these. So that's the thing here. You will continue to recycle those same experiences that you don't want until you change those subconscious beliefs about these things. So, negative traits for, say, a Venus evening star, say, if they have a negative attitude towards, say, love, they would abuse their sexual power just to gain material possessions because, I mean, they have a messed up attitude towards, love anyway, so they're not able to fully be emotionally there. So it's easier for them to kind of just use their sexual power to gain material possessions or any type of leveling up in life. And of course, that falls with a bitter and rigid attitude towards romance, basically looking at people as maybe like checkbooks and ATMs. You have very wounded or imbalanced feminine energy, and that falls in abusing your sexual power, having, and also not just looking feminine. You may appear feminine, but you're very masculine in your energetic energy. So how you handle yourself, you may not be very feminine in your energy, be very masculine in how you say you communicate, your actions. So you have to be mindful of that as well. I also feel that these types can be energy vampires because you're kind of like at a point where you really don't have a lot of good energy to pull from if, say, you're vibrating in the negative traits of the Venus evening star. So it's easier for you to kind of suck on those energies of the people around you. A lot of the time just could generate as being cold-hearted as well. So that was it for the light and dark side of Venus. I thought this would be a fun video to do because, like I mentioned before, you know how I view the planets. I view it as basically like a representation of our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind has good and bad in it. So the more you're comfortable with these shadows, you're able to have a clearer vision on how to work with these energies within yourself. So next time you pull up your birth chart, look at where the position of your Venus is, and I feel this can also help you understand your attitude towards your relationships in your life and how you go about indulging in material goods and things of that nature, also just based on the position of your Venus. So that was it, family. I will see you in the next upload.